Hello, guys. Welcome to this new edition of Mind Podcast. This is Aadit Kapadia, and together with me is my compadre Pramod Kumar Buravalli. Hello, Pramod. How's it going?
Well, we are nearing on 8 years of friendship and our journey, but it's still about 2 months away. So I don't want to bust the bubble,
Yeah.
but exciting doing a podcast with you always, and discussing stuff threadbare.
Absolutely. नहीं ये तो क्या है ना कि when वो होता है ना कि when बाहर जब आदमी थक हार जाए he comes to his friend's house and they have a drink together or they have a coffee together. This is Pramod and I. We do like podcasts with the whole world. Pramod does radio shows. We run around and then once in a while we decide यार just let बैठ के गपशप कर दे on air.
बिल्कुल, because see, ultimately at the end of the day,
Yeah,
news analysis के साथ साथ people also need to understand what our thought process is, our
absolutely.
journey is, and I really appreciate these conversations.
Absolutely. And then, guys, we'll do in about, I think, July or something. Pramod and I are planning a live discussion where, because a lot of people have been asking, why don't you take questions, because people do comment, people have questions about specific things in India, US. So,
I'm sure, yeah.
just watch this space, follow us on Twitter. There are our Twitter handles. We'll tweet it out and then write to us with suggestions, about what. So this week's podcast is going to be a news of the week podcast. We're going to talk about many things that happen. There are conspiracy theories going on. There are interviews that are being discussed that I think the Pakistani foreign minister gave. There are Indian political news coming up. There are lots of realignments happening, and as the world is slowly battling COVID, I think when we are at the vaccination stage. Now we're also getting to the point where what will we see in the revival stage? How will economically we'll revive if the tourism come back? The same way America certainly has been seeing domestic tourism come back the same way. So it's a fascinating place we're at. So what next for the world and all? So we're going to talk about these, minor issues like Jammu, Kashmir, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and what next for the world in the last 35 minutes. And I'm sure, given the complexity of these issues, it's going to be we're not going to be able to do justice to everything,
Yeah.
but we'll try our best. So Pramod, why don't we get into this? So the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called an all-party meet with parties, Jammu and Kashmir parties, and there are speculations going on from delimitation to elections to Jammu being another state. I mean, all sorts of things are going on Twitter. I don't want to entertain conspiracy theories. Delimitation is a process that is set to happen very soon, if not, now. And Jammu and Kashmir do need to have elections. There are parliamentary constituencies. Anantnag, I think, is one of them, which hasn't seen an election. So, I mean, they need to happen, right? I mean, you can't just have indefinitely
Right.
because. Yes, we understand that a couple of years of presidential rule was required with the whole situation around Article 370. And maybe it's not going to happen now, but the beginning or the initiation of the political process of the new Jammu and Kashmir, I always say, has to begin. Personally, I think that's what the meeting is about. I don't think any major announcements are going to happen. But that's just me. I didn't know what was going to happen on August 5th, 2019 as well. And we all know what happened. So what do you think, Pramod?
Well, this is all led by Ajit Doval. The reason why the security aspect of it has to be taken into account, Adit, and these are all connected, is because for the past 2 years, the United States was looking to withdraw. Whether Trump liked it or not, there was a wear and tear that had seeped into the American military. There was a drawdown of troops that was happening, and Biden just hastened it. And that, in parallel, was also the occurrence of the talks between Pakistan and Taliban, Pakistan, Taliban, and the United States. And many times there were other parties also involved. The adjoining states were involved. So this was a multilateral drawdown effort that was happening, and what that will do once Taliban either directly or indirectly comes to power back in Afghanistan, there will be a lot of human resources that will be at Pakistan's disposal again. This is again going back to the 89 period when, after the withdrawal of a superpower like the USSR in that instance, and now USA, India at that time did not have an Ajit Doval as
ये
national security advisor, right?
ये तुमने गलत कर दिया. ये मेरे second topic का first topic में घुसेड़ दिया. My second topic was going to be about Qureshi talking about Afghanistan in his interview.
हाँ, लेकिन ये दोनों दोनों इसीलिए जुड़े हैं because India does not need to actually do anything at this point in time. Of course, you're right. As far as due process में delimitation करना चाहिए, and there is also this weird talk of again UT reverting back into a full-fledged state, which is never going to happen. All the union territories will then want to become states. It's just all media speculation. But there was a need for the political process to kick in again. Whether it is a union territory or not, elections have to happen. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah. The local council elections happened, were conducted very successfully. The outcomes were good. So there seems to be some confidence that is building in, and that this is where Ajit Doval took a proactive approach. कि जब हमारे advantage में है situation, then you have to show to the world also that you are truly interested in dialogue. अपने ही बंदे हैं, फारूक अब्दुल्ला हो या कोई भी हो, it can be Mahbooba Mufti. All of you come to the table. This is the new reality. It's Article 365 is never coming back. State कभी होना नहीं है. लेकिन इसी दायरे में आपको कौन-कौन से political processes में आप involve हो सकते हो. अगर आप चाहेंगे तो free and fair elections conduct किया जा सकता है. Union territories also have elections, right? Because Ladakh, if you remember, does not have an assembly, but Jammu and Kashmir still does. So election for that union territory is required in due time, right?
Basically similar to what Delhi is, but on a larger geography.
Exactly, and has more stake also because obviously it's a border state. But then most importantly, the economy of Jammu and Kashmir is doing well, slowly and securely. Things as far as infrastructure spend. Even during COVID time, I was very happy to note that the migrant laborers, especially the ones from UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, all of these people were deployed to the northern and northeastern state bordering China, Aadit, ताकि all of the border infrastructure that remained to be built was built at a really breathtaking pace. I mean, nobody can imagine how much infrastructure got built there. So it's actually both, but then the reason why I wanted to connect both of these issues, why Pakistan is a little bit wary of what's happening in Kashmir, is also because they are in no position to dictate the narrative like they were. Even in Afghanistan, if they want to invest back again in a Taliban that is going to be anti-West, as it is, Pakistan is in not a good situation financially. FATF ka jo bhi hai, every now and then there's a Damocles sword that is hanging on top of Pakistan's head. Ye to they can't even afford to keep their own military, fully armed and equipped. So it's a good thing that's happening Kashmir mein. Hopefully people will.
But ultimately, you agree with my proposition that it's probably the beginning of a political process. You're not expecting major announcements or something, but maybe a policy direction. And then as days come ahead, we're going to see like how the policy.
This would have happened a year ago had it not been COVID. They were already ready with this blueprint. They were ready with the roadmap for delimitation. And it actually leads to larger delimitation across India. By the way, if you remember, when Arun Jaitley was the law minister in 2002, that was 20 years ago, they had said that delimitation ka jo bhi exercise hai across the pan-India, at least from a Lok Sabha standpoint, will start happening from 2022. And the number of constituencies proportionate to the population of India will increase in 5 to 7 years time frame. The 2024 के election के बाद 2029 वाला election होगा, it will have 700 or 750 odd Lok Sabha seats, Aadit.
Even more, I think 800 something, 888 is what.
Yeah, it probably has to be. It's just.
Now, the real question is now, and then that will debate like, is it going to be a straight proportional increase, or is it going to vary across the population? Because there is also the debate where if states lower population growth, are they going to be penalized for that?
I think so. That is what happened in the US too, right? It's always the proportional population. Of course, Texas got 2 more seats and some states lost seats, and that's exactly what.
Yeah, so I mean that is the thing, but I mean penalize is maybe a harsh word. I'm actually quoting someone who told me that, but someone who told a private conversation with a person close to this. But my thing is not that. My thing is something else. Maybe if we are not able to have a debate, the fairer sort of thing probably would be to just increase the state, all the seats by a certain factor. Say, you pick a factor. If you're increasing the Lok Sabha seats by 1.5, you apply that, try and applying that factor somewhat uniformly. Because, I mean, right now, some of the seats, I mean, from your state, Pramod, Medak Lok Sabha, the size of it is ridiculous. It's like, what, 29 lakh voters or something like that? Some
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I think even the constituencies have to be carved out differently. Hopefully, there is obviously a security angle to everything. Each delimitation exercise cannot be, devoid of that, calculation. Again, Jammu Kashmir also, that is what the opposition people have been protesting. Because if you remember in the pre-Article 365 assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. Uh, Kashmir still had an upper hand, although population-wise, for some reason, the seats in Kashmir were frozen. Jammu, in spite of increase in population, proportion number of seats were not increasing, which is why it was always ensured that the parties from the valley were always controlling the political power. If you remember that, yeah. So ये भी उस change के दायरे में आएगा, which is what people are worried कि अच्छा हम, we will probably be just puppet government installed by somebody in Delhi, which is what was happening anyway. It's like इतना brouhaha करने की क्या जरूरत है अभी.
Exactly. So yeah, so coming, it's the best thing about chatting with Pramod is वो points भी खुद देता है और segue भी मुझे खुद ही देता है, right? So it gives me a segue to sort of talk about the two interviews. Imran Khan, I think, spoke to Axios on HBO. I haven't seen that. There is a clips on Twitter available, but I'm going to watch the whole episode before I delve very deep into it. But I saw the clip. I saw he was very hypocritical about China and the Uyghurs and the situation there, and he somehow talked about like not sharing a border, or someone is like, what are you talking about, dude? The part, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, China, what are, I mean, they probably don't use the word Pakistan occupied Kashmir. I don't know what they use, but of course that's what we say, in India. And I think near the Gilgit Baltistan and stuff like that, there is, that border that they have. So it is just crazy that the logic that Imran Khan is using in staying completely silent about Uyghurs and how he selectively uses human rights. And then we came to Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who was talking to an Afghanistan journalist, where I have to compliment the journalist for conducting a very good interview. Like, he let him, it was very concise. He let him speak. He was not jumping, and basically he let him expose himself. Like, on the question of Taliban, I won't say a thing, but I tweeted out a video clip. I think Naila Inayat from Pakistan, she tweeted it out, and we all plugged, her tweet and stuff. But you must watch the whole interview on YouTube. I have tweeted, and many others have tweeted. And it is unbelievable. I mean, what is the hypocrisy on Taliban and Afghan, and the what is the stand? Like, doesn't he understand he's going to be taken as a joke on a global stage?
That is why he's called Im the Dim. Not just him, but
Yeah,
also and also Qureshi. All of these guys. I don't know if you've seen the debates happening in Pakistan National Assembly, where people were accusing. Shahbaz Sharif was just beginning to make comments on, thanking the speaker for a motion in the parliament or whatever, and then he was heckled and called chore, and the people from either side came to blows, and that is symptomatic of what Pakistan has become. It's descended into such a chaotic scenario where it has constantly been dependent on doles coming in from Saudi Arabia, China. Now they are trying some money from Turkey. Obviously, they want money from the West as well, which is not coming in right now. So they have no such industry or something that will attract a major foreign investor, whether it is good, bad, or ugly. See, दो तरह के foreign investor होते हैं. One which will invest in construction, one which will invest in destruction. है ना? दोनों में नहीं है पैसे. क्योंकि construction में कौन देगा? It's all prone to all sorts of activities happening in Balochistan with pipelines being blown up, etc., that were constructed over many, many years, right? On that front, if you look at destruction, Saudi Arabia is no longer interested in bankrolling anything in Pakistan.
Yeah, and this is the sad part. Imran Khan almost seems to tweet about Palestine with a faster speed than about his own neighbors, China, or about what the Taliban is doing in Afghanistan, right? So it's just sad because I mean we knew the hypocrisy of Imran Khan. The reason I'm saying sad is some people of Pakistan did pose faith in him, and they were hoping that if they look beyond the Bhutto and Sharif family, कि कुछ ना कुछ शायद different हो. But इतना different होगा तो I don't even think they thought.
No, peace was always a hostage that they were always hiding. देखो अभी पाकिस्तान में बिना involvement के they don't want anything to move in Afghanistan, and here brokered by Qatar, brokered by whoever it is, third party, there seems to be a power share agreement that is happening in Afghanistan without the knowledge or the support base that usually came in from Pakistan's ISI, which always thought Afghanistan was its own backyard, where it had strategic depth. तो इसमें they didn't find anything. अब कश्मीर के बारे में बात कोई कर रहा ही नहीं है. तो ये इनके जो दो मुद्दे थे in which they used to garner global attention, कोई बात ही नहीं कर रहा है इनसे.
Yeah, and I'm going to put I'll come back to Pramod in a second, but I'm going to give a recommendation right now, and then we'll have another set of recommendations. But read this book called Ghost Wars by Steve Cole about Afghanistan and what has happened there. It's one of the most terrific books, and probably Steve Cole, I think, encompasses what has happened in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and so forth. आजकल हम लोग books कम ही पढ़ा करते हैं. People are watching YouTube videos. मैं खुद अभी YouTube का recommendation दे रहा था, and I'll give it. But read this book, because I think still what a book achieves in a format that it's been written, a 50-minute documentary or even a 10-part series is not going to be able to do.
So again, going back to Qureshi, I think you're spot on in all of these things that are happening at the same time. This is going to be the preparing of the geopolitical platform for the post-COVID world, because it had come to a standstill because of what has happened globally, the epidemic and the pandemic's mass destruction trail that it has left. It has confused everybody. All state and non-state actors are really confused as to what the next approach will be. Some चिंगारी कहीं से होनी चाहिए ना. देखो कहीं पे नैरेटिव कोई सेट करता था, हम जैसे लोग रिएक्ट करते थे. अब नैरेटिव हाँ ऐसे रिएक्ट करने के लिए कोई चीज है ही नहीं. नया मुद्दा ओल्ड वाइन इन न्यू बॉटल करके क्या करेंगे.
And you have those clerics, I think I forget कौन था, they were leading them that march in against Imran Khan, and they were trying to even trend some hashtags like civil war in Pakistan or something like that. वो भी सब मार्च अप्रैल में होने वाला था. Even that fizzled out. Like I really don't know what is happening, but when I saw these interviews, it appears that even at the topmost levels, they don't have any clear sense of what their policy is, because it just seems strange that you would maintain such a weird sort of stance on Taliban and not unequivocally condemn it. Right? Even though Pakistan's history, enormous hypocrisies, I still thought that a foreign minister wouldn't mumble and fumble on a question like that.
But Taliban has outlived Pakistan's utility, Aadit. खत्म हो गया. 2011-12 तक खत्म हो गया था. All the leverage they had using Pakistan as कि नहीं ये लोग बहुत ट्रेडिशनल हैं, कंजर्वेटिव लोग हैं, इनसे बात करने से अच्छा हमसे बात कर लो. जो डील कट करना है हमारे से बात करो. वी आर मॉडरेट्स, राइट. इनसे आप डील नहीं कर पाओगे. ठीक है. अब तालिबान खत्म ही हो गया. Probably in some pockets in Afghanistan where they still hold fort, they are trying to come back to power, political power, and Pakistan is just caught between two storms. It wanted a Taliban that was under its control. अब ये कोई नया तालिबान है, कोई नया एजेंडा करेगा, जाके कहीं पे यूरोप में या यूएस में बम फोड़ेगा, तो पाकिस्तान की तो गई बात. I mean 20 साल तक Pakistan has lost all the funding. It's become a penniless state because of Taliban. अब करे तो क्या करें. They're stuck in a devil's and
And
hard
I
place.
think they were hoping that a non-Trump administration would be more sympathetic towards Pakistan. But so far, from what I've seen, Biden administration has not been that. I mean, उनके शायद 2-3 human rights lobby वालों ने कुछ आवाज की होगी about certain issues, pertaining India and Pakistan. But I personally have not read or seen something that shows that financially कुछ बड़ा difference पड़ा हो पाकिस्तान को.
Foreign policy, you and I have talked about this past 8 years. There's no difference between a Democrat or a Republican. It's the State Department, the 18 agencies, predominantly the old, hawks that live in the Pentagon, basically dictate it, right? It doesn't matter.
Biden is one of them. Let's not forget. Biden is
an old hog. I shouldn't call him a dog because he's the president now. I can tell you that in some चीजों में there was a lot of apprehension in the Indian strategic community कि Biden आ गया तो ये तो leftist की सपोर्ट से आया था, ये इस्लामिस्ट की सपोर्ट लेके आया था. Will he be very ambivalent towards Israel? Will he be really going hammer and tongs against India? वो तो नहीं हुआ ना, because the new reality, the 800-pound gorilla facing the United States is China. And who the hell in this world can directly confront China? एक country बताओ जिसने 20 soldiers खोए. Aadit, remember what happened in Galwan? 20 soldiers खोए. That has had a reverberating effect कि हमने तो कभी soldiers खोया ही नहीं भाई चाइना के खिलाफ. एक यही है.
No, but so I'll tell you this: the difference between what I've seen in Republicans and Democrats is the Republicans and the Democrats may have one or two people talking foreign policy with the Indian government and so forth, but those in the Republican parties who are not talking foreign policy were sort of maintaining a strategic silence or some sort of a support with India. But there are few members in the far left of the Democratic Party who don't maintain that strategic silence when it comes to India. So who get sound bites, but the old lobby, the old hawks within the Democrat establishment are still talking to that, which is why Minister S. Jaishankar could schedule the visit, the speed at which he did, and got things clear. I'm not saying that.
I tell you, Ilhan Omar blurted out these insane sort of comparisons on what Israel was doing in self-defense and tried to equate Black Lives Matter with the Palestinian movement, etc., and calling for Americans to have solidarity with the Palestinians. Immediately, the old guard, the same Nancy Pelosi, the same Biden gang, completely slapped down on her.
Wilmer has always said that when it comes to combating terrorism or when it comes to combating, the extremists in the Middle East, you cannot be progressive in America and try to talk a different tone. You have to be progressive everywhere if you're a liberal. And I have a lot of criticisms or questions with Wilmer, but I will not his liberalism is very he applies the same standard rule on liberalism and free speech.
That is why the deep establishment has always been like that. The deep establishment is a very smart establishment. They have been ruling the world for 75 years. They know that extremism has to be combated. And nobody at this point in time has the wherewithal to combat this kind of coalition that is happening between China and Islamic extremism. And who else can be a partner? Israel is a small country, right? Russia is unreliable at best. They don't have the kind of... एक ही इंडिया है, and they will support financially. देखो, no matter which way you look at, India also is a great economy. It's a free economy. इनके products और कहाँ बिकेंगे बोलो? अभी anti China हो गए, anti Islamic countries हो गए, और कौन बचा? Right?
Exactly.
1.4 billion country का और and it also holds sway all across Southeast Asia. So it's a collective sort of market of about 2 billion people that they cannot neglect. They're very smart people. ऐसे कभी नहीं करेंगे. कभी-कभी ऐसे खास टिप्पणी करेंगे ह्यूमन राइट्स के बारे में, कश्मीर में बात करनी चाहिए. Why don't you initiate a dialogue and some sort of ये जो अमन की आशा type stupid stuff वो तो आता ही रहेगा. And
वो तो होगा, but this is what it is. But you gave me the perfect segue because believe it or not, we are entering into the last 10 to 15 minutes of the podcast. We're almost half an hour in. So Pramod, this is how it's breezy. हम लोग चाय पे बकैती करते हैं. That's how fast it goes. So coming into India, Indian politics, a very funny bit of news that I saw. I mean, it's not related to any big event. Navjot Singh Sidhu, our eternal jester, has said this, and I quote, "I am not a showpiece to be used for polls. And then he said, I have full faith in the Congress High Command, but he has told this without naming Amrinder that he is not a showpiece. I say you fulfill the agenda. I'm quoting from a TOI report, so I'm sure he said this in Hindi or Punjabi, but the TOI people translated it in Hindi. So this is a Times of India report. You fulfill the agenda. I will support you without a post. You may even appoint me to the Zilla Parishad, but if you do not fulfill people's aspirations, no post will matter to me. Thokotali Guru. So the last part I added, usne nahi bola Thokotali, but that is those things. But seriously, what the hell does this man want? He quit the BJP because BJP would not snap ties with the Akali. Now, I mean, he may have given 10,000 reasons, but that was the biggest reasons. He had issues with the Akalis. Now the Akalis are not there. BJP is actually looking to expand its policies in Punjab. Before that, he actually moved to the Congress. He had said all sorts of nonsense before. Now he's saying more and more nonsense. And then he was expecting probably to continue be the chief ministerial face after Amrinder left, and now Amrinder doesn't want to leave. And Amrinder ne 120% ये बोला था ये मेरा last election है. A lot of right wingers are slyly saying कि Amrinder ने बोला था ना. Basically, he said it on an interview with Shekhar Gupta on Walk the Talk, but people might not be wanting to share NDTV links or something. But देख लेना, Walk the Talk या off the cuff, like या तो print पे कहा था NDTV, मुझे याद नहीं है, but I clearly remember he told this to Shekhar Gupta and a couple other journalists also.
In a forefront fight, it doesn't matter. Punjab is so split, and very clearly with the Akalis now.
I find it difficult to believe that BJP is in the race except for a few urban pockets.
It's running for the 4th position. It's not even there because of lack of coherent strategy. With now Akalis gone with the BSP, Aam Aadmi Party also standing on its own feet, and I don't think it will partner with the Congress with the history between Kejriwal and Amrinder Singh. It's a foregone conclusion that Amrinder
also, if Aam Aadmi Party goes with the Congress, then BJP has a chance with the Hindu vote, because the Akalis have actually taken these, after these protests or something, have taken completely different votes, where the traditional plus Hindu vote they were getting because of alliance with BJP will not come.
But isn't the Aam Aadmi Party vote the SC vote, Aadit, which is the majority?
Not necessarily. I mean, yes, but then they also got some of the the radical. They didn't get that vote actually, because what happened was Aam Aadmi Party got a lot of the votes which were pissed off with the Akalis and stuff. Then they started quoting the radical vote in before the 2019 before the 2017 elections, and then because of that the middle class shifted totally towards the Congress, and that's how Amrinder came. Amrinder came because Kejriwal messed up. Let's be pretty honest. But if Kejriwal and Amrinder tie up, which I don't think will happen, then BJP is suddenly in the play, because a lot of Hindus might actually be skeptical of AAP and might go towards the BJP. And let's not forget, Punjab is 40+% Hindu.
So, it is, and that is where when they vote, the Sikh vote gets split right down the middle between Congress and the Akalis, which is what happens. It's always the Hindus that basically balance it out.
Yeah, so it was Akalis used to get a lot of Hindu votes from the urban centers,
Correct.
And then get that they're in that belt, the rural belt. Correct. The urban, so that was the perfect alliance between Akalis and BJP, because they would get the rural votes and BJP would get the urban votes.
Yeah, again, the same problem with BJP on this note is essentially they don't have a face. They could have had 2 or 3 years to project somebody who would really do the groundwork, maybe 2 or 3 faces, if not just one person. I don't think they've really found somebody.
See, I think they invested a lot in the farm laws, which I mean rightfully so, but that of course led to the pissing of farmers in Haryana and Punjab majorly compared to the other states. So let's see how that affects. I mean, that elections in Punjab are a year away. They'll happen with UP and Uttarakhand. So it's going to be 3 very crucial elections. Uttarakhand also, after a long time, we've seen BJP CM replacement. I think Anandiben was the last one before this happened. So we'll have to see what happens and so forth. But moving to the national politics in the last part, Pramod, how do you see the national politics panning out in the next few months?
The victory of Mamata Banerjee.
Who do you see? Do you see any noise from the opposition at all, because right now they are making noise but it's irrelevant. I think Narendra Modi's popularity is, it may have suffered slightly due to COVID and stuff, but I honestly think he's still the most popular face in India.
He is by far, even globally, his popularity is unquestionable. At the same time, all of them have lost the energy levels pre-COVID. It's probably because of the mahol. We're all distraught with so many things that have happened, and once the energy level starts picking up, I'll be able to comment with specifics. But I see that unlike 2019, 2024 will be very tough competition for the BJP. I'm not saying BJP will not win or lose. I'm not there yet, but it will be tough because all the opposition parties look to be closing the rank. No matter how many things have been said, naysayers have said कि Mahavikas Aghadi succeed nahi hoga, but they have been in power for 2 years now, right? Up down hote hi rehta hai, and they still have been able to chug along, and some sort of a wicked formula that might work in the end maybe worked out. Again, coordination. Nobody is coordinating. There's no Congress or no communist at the center that is saying कि इस सीट में आपके कोई कैंडिडेट आपका कोई है ही नहीं, ये इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट या न्यूट्रल कैंडिडेट होगा, इसको सब लोग आप सपोर्ट करेंगे, ये कोई कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं
I
है.
think
That is the biggest.
the opposition suffers from a strategy of too many kings and no kingmaker.
Yeah, and no single sagacious person like Jay Prakash Narayan or somebody like VP Singh or somebody who can say that अच्छा ये मैंने काम करके दिखा, इसकी वजह से मेरी credibility इतनी ऊपर है.
But to be fair, and let's not, we are not saying कि अरे क्यों नहीं है stuff. India does need to put opposition and stuff, to raise the correct question. The problem is some of their own voices are so contradictory, right? Like Rahul Gandhi within the Congress. Some of the far left tendencies of Rahul Gandhi on Twitter, I would say 90% of the Congress leaders don't agree nationwide. ये तो कुछ, so that is also the problem, that they might also be supporting the Gandhis not out of compulsion rather than conviction.
I think they'll blow it. They peaked too soon. The opposition parties basically could have really countered the government on so many things, but with frivolous sort of attitude, they've just given the BJP much more ammunition to prepare well. And 3 years is a very long term in politics, Adit. There's a lot of things coming up. The construction or the completion of the construction of Ram Mandir, the impending, obviously several economic projects that Nitin Gadkari took up at such a pace. The economic development, which stopped because of COVID, will really, even in spite of this second wave, the projected GDP is at 8.7%.
Yeah,
8.7%. So the economy is going to be booming again. Okay, and most importantly, they have a leader who has withstood so many of these attacks from all directions that it's literally impossible to find fault with him. You can find fault with like what happened in West Bengal. You can find fault with the individual TMC candidates, but BJP themselves could not find a clinching smoking gun against Mamata Banerjee.
Yeah.
And now extrapolate that at the national level. What do you have against Narendra Modi? Right?
No, and then there is a bigger problem also, right? The COVID thing, they used up all their pent up energy on the COVID thing. And I mean, if there are questions and stuff like that, they should be raised. But my point is that when there is an analysis a year and a half from now, saner heads will prevail. When they look at all the numbers,
Okay.
when real analysis is done, which is not like New York Times extrapolating it to whatever factor they think, then they'll find out percentage wise, India still might not have done as bad as, which is not to suggest that what happened was good. I mean, I have lost family to COVID. I think what happened was horrific the last 2 months, right?
Yes.
But when we sit down and analysis, it has to be subject matter experts who do that, not journalists and accountants. Journalists have to report a side of the story, I agree, but proper analysis has to be done by subject matter experts.
And
Not
nobody, you're right. And somebody like you should speak up more often on this particular point because you can find 100 faults with the healthcare system, lack of ICU beds, lack of oxygen plants, all of these critical sort of things in a crisis mode, a war-like situation like this where we have lost 300,000 people. You have the right to ask hundreds of questions, but everything pointing back to Modi, is what
Yeah,
will backfire, because he performs well when attacked like this. When he is
exactly.
not at fault, he's done nothing except try to develop India. He's done a great job on foreign policy, on infrastructure, on defense. The man, whatever his mandate was at the central level, I am 100% again. A major cabinet reshuffle is required. They need to bring qualified, skilled people, even if it means that they are not from within the BJP or the Sangh Parivar. If they are experts in a certain area, they have to be able to articulate properly. They have to reform the textbooks, which is what is the biggest acquisition from ideological people like me, that these guys didn't even touch the textbook, history textbooks. But most importantly, you need communicators. You are
Absolutely.
not 3 months away or 3 years away. You are 3 minutes away from the next election. That is how you have to think. If you are really truly an electoral machine, you need good spokespersons who have seen an idea and implementation to be able to talk. Not that
I don't, and the problem is not even that. The problem is not even that. I spokespersons of debates. I don't take debates seriously. I think the main issue is they need a press secretary. They need to start conveying the message and stuff, and maybe that needs to happen very soon. And hopefully that will change the things. So that's what we'll see कि क्या होता है और क्या नहीं होता है. But that's and that's maybe a discussion of like for when we are doing a live interview and so forth. But going to the last part of the thing, our favorite part, the recommendations. Pramod, any recommendations you have today?
So I started. My wife bought this book on Michelle Obama that she wrote after Michelle Obama and Barack Obama both basically have just settled into retirement, and it's actually not like an inside story that you would you expect them to be filled with stories about how her president and her husband took their decisions on XYZ and what tension or stress he was facing. But becoming Michelle Obama is actually about a black woman dealing with such unexpected possibilities. It's a very truly human sort of narration that she did. I've just begun to like Michelle Obama really well. Such an articulate, smart lady, and no wonder Barack Obama is in awe of such a wonderful.
You never know.
You need to have. You need to
maybe
have. She will run for office. I'm 100% sure. Dekho, she has learned so many things, right? Even I mean, I would have been happy had instead of her, instead of Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama would have run for vice president, because this lady has so much experience by
No,
just
but
seeing.
the whole Obama Biden and then Biden Obama, I
वो
don't
नहीं
think.
हो सकता, right? No, I'm just saying that I was very happy to know that a person of color, in spite of overwhelming odds, still maintained that positivity. She's extremely smart. She's equally, in fact, more smarter than Barack Obama. Barack Obama sometimes is given to a lot of impulsive behavior also, but she was not. Then managing the household, managing finances. This man is young, intellectual professor wanting to go into politics. First time senator, first time president. It's a dream story, Aadit. And she really stole my family's heart by that narration.
I mean, usually the first step to running for office is
Writing a book.
publishing. so, she's there now. Maybe the NPR interviews and the ABC 2020s will be coming soon next year. Who knows?
He was
But
doing that even while I think Trump was in office.
But I think the camaraderie between Biden and Obama is so that she will not run on a platform attacking Biden. It's something, it will more be a continuation of that. So we'll have to see how that works. But my recommendation is going to be a show on Netflix called Lupin, or Lupin, I think, as the French pronunciation goes. It's about a gentleman burglar set in France. It's absolutely phenomenal. The second part came out this week. Watch it. It's a complete popcorn entertainment. Don't apply too much logic, but it's beautifully with a uplifting music score. It'll improve your weekend. It improved mine.
I will watch it.
It's only 10 episodes. 2 parts are 10 episodes, and the third part is coming out, I think, next year or the year after. So we'll watch. But that wraps up the podcast this week, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Pramod.
Thank you.
Fabulous as always. We'll be back next week with more. Don't forget. Oh, before I go, oh my God, Mind Book, guys. Thank you for the support you have given to my book. Look on the website. Pramod has been spearheading a very arduous effort on that. So I'll let Pramod talk a little bit about it. Right now, we don't have the physical copies in US, but in India, it is. A lot of people have ordered digital. Pramod, please talk about it.
Well, I always grew up on reading Malayalam Manorama yearbook in the 90s, which was my. मैं जब भी अपने father को I was used to ask him for a cricket bat or pair of gloves or wickets or something, he used to gift me a Malayalam Manorama's yearbook. And reading up on it was where I developed the knowledge base and the statistics required. Then again, afterwards, coming to the US and studying on the internet, then Wikipedia came along. There's now a CIA fact file. So हमारे facts कोई और लिख रहा है, right? We don't have our own internal indic way of looking at things. So this is a simple yearbook. It is a coffee table yearbook which has country-based fact files. It has the capital, the currency, the democratic system. It has the latest flag and the map of the country. Plus, the good factor is we collected this data over 3 years, Aadit. The top 3 Indian restaurants to visit in that country.
Yeah.
Some of them are Michelin starred also, by the way. Are the top 3 Indic temples to visit. If there's a country where there's a beautiful Swaminarayan temple or a Jaina temple or a Bauddha temple or a Sikh Gurudwara, we don't know, right? There needs to be a place where our community can find shelter or just go to eat food. And so it's an amazing experience of 3 years. We couldn't print last year. We only did a e-book. This year we did a limited print order, and it's also available on an ebook version. Mind.net, if you can go there, and you have those links available.
Yeah, and I think Pramod has tweeted about it. We'll tweet about it also. So I mean, please, take a look at it and so forth, and let us know what you think.
Yes.
But that wraps up the podcast this week. We'll be back with more next week. And thank you so much, Pramod, for joining again.
Thank you, Aadit.
And guys, please like the stream. Yada yada yada. Share it on Twitter, Facebook. अगर अभी भी बोलना पड़े इतने सालों बाद तो आप कर क्या रहे हो यार? Help us out a little bit. Share the love, and we'll keep coming and doing many more interviews, discussions, and debates like this. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, and you might, before again I call off, we will do another discussion on the World Test Championship as well. Be rest assured. If I don't do it with Pramod, I'll do it with someone on cricket as well. So, but Pramod is probably itching to get speak on cricket. So Pramod probably will be there, but we'll get some subject matter expert on cricket as well. क्योंकि हम लोग तो किसी भी subject matter expert हो सकते हैं. I'm kidding, of course, but we will do that. A lot of people were asking when I'm going to do, and I might be also doing one with Kushal. So if you've seen our previous podcast, Kushal and I, we'll be doing another one soon. So thank you guys. We'll be back soon.